Life often tests us in ways we never expect. Just when we think we have nothing left to give, a door opens, or sometimes a door slams shut, forcing us to dig deeper than we thought possible. Tonight's story is about one such test, and the quiet strength that only perseverance can uncover. Once in a small working-class town tucked between two fading factories, lived a man named Henry. He was in his late 40s, shoulders bent from years of loading crates at the shipping yard. His hands were calloused, his back tired, but every evening, when the whistle blew, he hurried home to his little girl Emma. Emma was 10, pale and fragile, with a smile that could light up their cramped apartment. But behind that smile was a heart defect the doctors said needed surgery, soon, or she would not see many more birthdays. The cost of the operation was more than Henry's yearly wage. For weeks, Henry worked double shifts, skipping meals, pawning off his tools. But every number scribbled on his bills fell short. Each night he sat at the kitchen table, staring at the worn wood as though answers might rise from its cracks. One evening, rummaging through the closet, Henry's hand brushed against a dusty case. He pulled it out, sneezed, and opened it. Inside lay an old guitar, strings rusted, body scratched, a relic from his own restless youth. He hadn't touched it in 20 years, not since he'd traded dreams of music for steady wages and rent payments. He plucked a string. It twanged flat, but the sound stirred something in him. Emma peeked in and giggled. "Daddy, you sound funny." Her laugh was light, but it pierced his chest. That night, Henry couldn't sleep. The thought looped in his head like a broken record. What if this guitar could help me save her? The next evening, he carried it to the train station. He set a hat at his feet and began strumming under the dim glow of a street lamp. His fingers fumbled, his voice cracked. Passers-by glanced, smirked, walked on. A few coins clinked into the hat, more out of pity than admiration. He flushed with shame, wanted to stop, but when he saw Emma's face in his mind, he kept playing. Night after night, Henry returned. His fingertips bled, but the sound grew steadier. Sometimes Emma sat wrapped in a blanket on the station bench, listening with wide eyes, whispering, "You're getting better, Daddy." Her quiet faith stitched courage into him. Still, the money barely grew. One freezing night, as his breath came out in clouds, Henry almost gave up. He leaned against the cold wall, guitar sagging in his hands, tears he hadn't allowed himself in years spilling down. That's when he noticed an older man lingering nearby, listening intently. The man had silver hair, a long coat, and eyes that seemed to recognize a deeper melody. When Henry finished, awkwardly muting the last chord, the man stepped forward. "That wasn't polished," he said softly, "but it was honest, and honesty, that's music people remember." He dropped a business card into the hat. Henry looked down, a retired music producer. The next week, Henry was invited to play at a small community event. He almost declined, but Emma squeezed his hand and said, "Please, Daddy, let them hear you." On stage, his knees shook, but as he sang, memories and long-buried dreams poured into the melody. He sang not as a performer, but as a father begging life to give his daughter more time. When the last chord hung in the air, the room fell silent, then erupted in applause. Some cried, others reached for their wallets. A fundraiser was born that very night. Donations trickled in, then flooded. Local papers ran his story. Father plays guitar to save daughter's life. Within weeks, the surgery was paid for. Emma went into the hospital with Henry holding her hand, whispering promises of songs still unwritten. The operation was long. Henry paced the sterile corridors, clutching his guitar case like a talisman. Hours stretched like years until the surgeon finally stepped out, smiling. Emma would live. Henry dropped to his knees, overcome, his tears this time a river of relief. Months later, Emma was running again in the park, chasing butterflies, cheeks flushed with life. Henry sat beneath an oak, guitar on his lap. His playing had grown richer, not technically perfect, but full of raw, weathered soul. Neighbors sometimes stopped to listen. A stranger once asked, "Do you play for money now?" Henry shook his head with a quiet smile. "No," he said, watching Emma's laughter ripple across the grass like sunlight on water. "I play to remember." And as the wind rustled through the leaves above him, Henry thought of life like music, fragile strings that can snap. But if you hold on, if you keep playing even through the dissonance, a melody will rise again. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in amber. Henry strummed a soft chord, letting it linger, blending with the rustle of the oak leaves and the sound of his daughter's laughter. The music carried on, not just in the air, but in the spaces between moments, reminding him and anyone who listened that perseverance can turn even the most broken notes into a song of life renewed.